And then the other thing about what we learn when we're training in energy healing that's useful for everyone is just this ability to feel beyond the five senses. Because we live in a world that is very, it's different now a little bit, isn't it? But it's very much dependent on logic and reason, what we can feel and what we can see, taste, touch, smell, that's what exists. And there's no space for the space, I suppose. What's between all of these things? What is there in the unseen that's influencing us all the time? But because we don't acknowledge it, it's like it's not there. But many of us know there is so much more. And then, this is just ignored. And for many reasons, this can be hard, because if you are aware of what's going on in the energy fields and in the unseen, but it's not kind of verified, your feelings aren't then validated or verified. If you're a sensitive person, you might be aware of these really subtle changes around you, but you won't be able to give them a name, or you won't be able to kind of fully understand them unless we bring them, obviously they're still unseen, but into our awareness, into our conversations, and kind of validate them, I suppose. And that was the other thing I found a lot in the hospital. It was, what I noticed was there was so much magic in those spaces, in those moments, like between what we could understand or what we could explain with logic and reasons and results. There was something else, and there was a magic in it, but it wasn't named and it wasn't recognized, and it was just often pushed to the side. And even in terms of actual space, that space between words, that space when there's no distractions and no noise or anything going on, we often find a lot in that actual space. But again, in the modern world, there isn't a lot of time for nothing, although it's not nothing, but everything's sort of filled and busy, and space is often not given enough recognition, the magic that we can find in space. So when we're learning energy healing, what we're doing is we're feeling. So we might use it with hands-on healing, and we might be just as we're placing our hands, even if we're just using healing for ourselves, really that's a time to slow down, and it's a time to just bring awareness to ourselves, what we're going on, what we're feeling, and then we can feel for subtle changes in the body. We can feel for subtle changes in the energy field, and it might be things that we haven't noticed before. And for everybody, it's different. And so when we're learning, we're feeling into like, what does that feel like for me? And, for some people, they might feel like heat, or some people might see colors, some people might have visions. And as we're using this, we're finding out what's our way of understanding and perceiving things. And it's going to be different for everybody. But the more we do it, the more we're kind of giving validity to these other things that we're sensing. And the more then they're becoming into our actual world. And then that expands our whole awareness, and it can help us see the world really differently, I suppose. And what we're doing often is we're seeing things from this expanded perspective. So as we're kind of connecting to our life force, and we're connecting to this channel almost, where we're connected really deeply to the earth, and we're connected to spirit and us at the center. And by doing so, we're then expanding our awareness, so we can see from the perspective of our higher self, which is really, I believe, it's through more the eyes of love. Not we're sort of, it's a co-creation, I think, but there's us here on the earth, and then we can see from this expanded perspective as well by tuning in and connecting more. And so it gives us this new way of seeing reality that's always been there and always is there, but it's just because we've shut off so much from intuition, I think, and put so much value on logic, that we're often missing a lot of things. And so, yeah, we're by doing this and feeling and experiencing, we're connecting back to our intuition and that side of things. And obviously, it's always going to be a mix of both, I think. Like, I'm really grateful for my experience as a nurse and my knowledge of the physical body, and also being able to use my intuition and feel into what's going on a deeper level. I don't think either there's no right or wrong. I think the magic comes when we use all of these things together. And I'm sure, like, whatever work or things that we do in our lives, like all the skills that we have are always going to be really valuable. And then bringing this new level of awareness to whatever we do can be really supportive. I always think, yeah, the magic's definitely in if we can manage to bridge the physical and the spiritual and what we see, yeah, in the physical world and what we see in the unseen, but bringing those together because they've obviously become so disconnected in life in general. Yeah, and often we do see, don't we? There's people who are very much in the physical world, people who are very much in the spiritual world, but where they meet, I think, is the place where we can find so much. So, yeah, intuition and reason, bringing them together. But through this experience, we're learning to connect more to our intuition. And it is a practice, definitely. And that's why when we're doing the training, we're practicing on ourselves every day. We're making space for ourselves so that we can learn to listen to our intuition and we can learn to trust in our intuition. Because I think a lot of people, well, most people actually, when they come to train with me, say they want to connect to their intuition, but then when they start talking, they're telling me all these things that they've heard or that they've thought or that they've felt, but that was just something silly, or that was just my imagination. But so often it's just about learning to trust it and making space for it. And like I said before, we live in a society where there isn't much space often, and we're taught not to trust in our intuition. So often, all this is doing is just giving space, giving permission to trust, and committing regularly to listening to your intuition. That's how you learn to trust it, I believe. And sometimes being in spaces where you can talk with others about what you're sensing and experiencing can be nice, just to be able to speak about them without worrying about anyone judging you. That can be really supportive as well, I find. And also, I encourage people to write things down as well, like the things that they're experiencing when they're giving a healing session, or when they're having their self-healing, or when they're just meditating or connecting, making that space just to connect back to themselves and connect to their intuition. And sometimes, yeah, write it down. And then you begin to see the patterns and like, oh, yeah, I'm not just crazy and I'm not just imagining things. And that is something, yeah, that's coming from within. And I think often when we learn to trust our intuition, we're learning to trust ourselves ultimately. And that's what it often comes back to. Because we're not taught how to listen or trust, we end up handing our power away to something outside of us when we have actually got so much power within. So it's a journey often of coming back to yourself and learning to trust in yourself. And someone who's naturally drawn to healing can often be, not always, often can be other focused. So the journey of the healer often is coming back to yourself again, and trusting in yourself and knowing your own power, and from that place there, and only then can you be in a place to support others. So yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a journey. Yeah. So yeah, so connecting to our life force, feeling beyond the five senses, and then just having an awareness of energy as well. And yeah, so I said about that with our circle of influence, and probably as well, like the intuition, you've probably had a lot of sense of change, subtle changes in the energy field, but again, without validating those things, you might not be aware of what you're experiencing. So those are the things that we learn in energy healing training that I feel are really supportive for anybody. And that's why I feel that this is valuable. These sort of tools and experiences are valuable for anyone, whatever you're doing, and how they can support mainly, yourself, but as a result, then support everybody around you, but obviously yourself first, because that's the key. And that, I believe, is kind of the way of the healer.